Hey guys, a very good morning, and as per usual, starting off with the dollar index, then moving on in towards euro dollar and the other pairs. So as we can see, the dollar index has been moving in towards the upside pretty much as we wanted. At the moment, still expecting further upside, at least of course in towards this buy before the sell, from where we then do definitely expect some kind of a heavier potential reaction, then potentially a pullback back down in towards, for example, this sell for the buy, and then let's say we'll see if we can break this high over here, because that is the first high which needs to be broken for kind of like that uptrend to potentially hopefully take out that daily fractal high and the 4-hour swing high, to take that out and then continue that 4-hour trend in towards the highs. So what I'm going to be waiting for today is pretty much, okay, see how we are going to be reacting inside this zone. Let's say we just start pushing up, then this is kind of like your protected internal low. So let's see if we can keep and maintain that low and potentially break this high. If we are ready to break this high, then I definitely kind of like see the dollar index pushing up higher. So that is kind of what I'm going to be waiting for. Let's say we tap in towards this supply zone and then we just drop and we break this protected low, then I definitely think we're going to be selling off deeper in towards the downside. So that's how I'm going to be using the dollar index to my advantage. Now moving on in towards euro dollar. So euro dollar has been moving in towards the downside this morning. Very, very beautiful price action overall. As we can very clearly see, yesterday we broke that 4-hour fractal low which I mentioned. We tapped in towards daily supply. We tapped in towards 4-hour supply. Overall, from a daily perspective over here, the daily of course is ready to drop. It looks primed to drop. The only thing that we're still waiting for is for us to break this low over here. So once that low goes, I am very confident that we're going to see a further push in towards the downside, at least of course back in towards this strong fresh area of daily demand at around 107,500. So that is that from the daily perspective. Now going in towards the 4-hour. The 4-hour is of course ready for a pullback. Why? Overall we're inside premium. Furthermore, we had a 4-hour break of structure. So what do we expect after a 4-hour break of structure? We expect a pullback. When does the pullback come? The pullback comes when we see a fractal break in structure inside premium, inside higher time frame areas of supply. So we got that fractal break of structure, then pretty much what we wanted was a pullback. So ultimately you get the pullback in towards the highs, and then of course you enter on the lower time frame with the potential, of price dropping down deeper. So probably some of you entered here on the 15-minute. I know some people entered on the 15-minute. Then what you see, of course, is that reaction inside that 4-hour sell before the buy. But what we know is that we're coming from a higher time frame area of supply. We are in the premium of the overall 4-hour swing range. So at a certain point in time, you of course expect the overall demand flow, which we've been seeing, which are these zones over here, to not hold anymore. So when euro dollar breaks the 15% mark of this overall swing range and breaks this fresh area of demand, the only kind of like fresh area of demand that we still have is potentially this zone over here. But then again, if you draw it from wick to wick, you already tapped into it. So that could kind of like potentially be the sign that euro dollar is ready to sell off much deeper in towards the downside. So what I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for today is a re-entry over here on euro dollar. Let's say we pull back in towards this buy for the sell, then you can re-enter and look for another short. Yesterday, the prime opportunity, of course, to get involved was over here. At a certain point, what do we see? We see here a high break, and then we see a structure shift down below over here. So 15-minute uptrend, high, low, higher high. We break the low over here. We pull back in towards this very clear buy before the sell. This area of supply was already taken out over here. So then what is your fresh area of supply next? Pretty much this buy before the sell range over here that you have, kind of like this buy before the sell. Then price comes in towards there and just sells off in towards the downside. Then of course you can look for that 15-minute change of character. So for example, I'm just gonna get this all out of the way because it's getting a little bit messy. But then what you see is over here, so you form this high, and this was, let's see, over here was your fractal low. So then this becomes your new high over here, and then this becomes your fractal low of this bullish candle. So what you then see is that you start moving out of that bullish candle. So that means that this bullish candle over here, this one becomes your supply zone. That's where you put your stops. and then you put, of course, your stop loss above the wick of that in towards the downside, and then you can start targeting and selling off in towards the downside. So then you'll see that you nearly got stopped out, but ultimately, of course, if you're expecting a further swing down, regardless where you want to put your TP, you can just leave it open, of course. So most of the times I just target a 1 to 3, so I would still be open in this position, and yeah, I would just leave it open because I do potentially see the potential for further downside over here on euro dollar. So overall, a beautiful setup, beautiful trade, and yeah, congrats if you took it based on the analysis of yesterday. So for now, looking for still for the downside here, and hopefully we can take out this demand zone, and then of course look for that pullback and then sell off further in towards the downside with euro dollar. Now, quite the extensive analysis, of course, over there. Now moving on in towards Aussie dollar, because Aussie dollar, of course, is showing the same as euro dollar, so also potential for those shorts. What we wanted yesterday was, of course, that fractal break of structure. We got it. Now what we can see is, of course, a clear pullback in towards this, let's say the buy before the sell over here. So from there, you can look for the shorts in towards the downside. Of course, we have a heavily overextended 4 hour with pretty much no pullback being made from this low all the way in towards this high after this BOS. So expecting that pullback. We're inside daily supply, so of course we're expecting a deeper correction. Now going in towards the 15-minute over there, pretty much the same as on euro dollar. This is your high, so this is your low. Then what happens? The low breaks over here, so pretty much no swing pullback as of yet over there. Of course, you could have entered, let's say, on this supply zone, but then a very aggressive entry. So now what is happening is, let's see, so pushing in towards the highs over here. So this is now your swing low, and then up over here we have your swing high. So push down, then everything starts to pull back. So if you then draw in premium versus discount over here, you can see we pull back in towards the 50% mark. So for example, what we have is a fresh area of supply over here where ultimately we start dropping from. So once price comes in towards there over here, then you want to start looking for those shorts. So what did we need? We needed a fractal break of structure, but the fractal break of structure was over here. So we see no fractal break of structure. What happens? We continue that push in towards the highs. So then this becomes your new fractal low. This becomes your area of supply. So this is your buy over here before the sell-off. And then potentially you can enter over here this morning with your order over there and your stop loss above the highs. And then of course, now you would be around 1%, or at your peak you would have been 1% in profit. And you can of course leave it open in towards that new potential low down below over here. So I wouldn't get involved anymore with this setup because at the moment it looks like stops at break even. But looking at the 4 hour, of course, I would still say that this trade is good to drop in towards downside, and I'm still looking for further downside over here on Aussie dollar. Moving on in towards pound dollar, very messy, just ranging, broke the fractal low, but nothing over here. Of course, you want to look for that short upon the break of the fractal low, then go in towards 15 and look for that entry. I mean, you could have looked for an entry over here potentially, but not much at all. I mean, overall, you kind of reacted this premium area of supply. So then once we tap in towards that supply zone, I would look for a fractal structure change. So this was your fractal low, meaning that this then becomes your area of supply over here. Or of course you could take the extreme depending on what your risk appetite is. And then what you see is, of course, after that fractal structure break, price pulls back and then starts ranging during Asian session. So I wouldn't have entered anyway, and then drops in towards the downside. Then this morning, of course, a new entry came over here potentially. But depending on how tight your stop loss was, you potentially got stopped out. So then you would do it like this, but then keeping in mind that you still have that extreme area of supply, I would set my stop loss a little bit wider, like here, for example. And now targeting for the downside over here on GU. But again, GU is uglier than Aussie dollar and euro dollar, so keep that in mind. Then NZDUSD, disregard that one because the fractal low over here is still respected, as we can clearly see. 4 hour zone over here, still respected. So 4 hour structure still holding. And unless we break this low, no short opportunities. So that is that. Last of all, of course, gold. Gold didn't do much. Of course, it did break this fractal low over here. So once that fractal low went, then you go, of course, in towards the 15 minute because we expect that potential pullback. So then if you go in towards 15, you want to be looking for the shorts. Again, no real clear areas of supply that I really like to look for those shorts from, but just focusing on the 4 hour and showcasing how it works. Of course, this is now your buy for the sell over here. So inside that zone, you just want to be looking for the shorts, potentially in towards downside to see that deeper correction, back down into potentially 2028 over here, or even further in towards the downside, in towards this range like we mentioned yesterday. So now these are the two kind of targets I would look for if you are short on gold at the moment. But yeah, keep in mind, manage your position aggressively because of the bullish nature of gold at the moment. But overall, it does look good. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic day, and we will speak very, very soon. Make sure to join the Discord server and leave a like. Thanks, guys.